If you've been following my quarantine playlist, you should know by now that my favorite all-time band is Genesis. I'm a fan of almost every single album in this amazing band's discography. The band has had somewhat of a resurgence in their popularity this year, first with the announcement of a reunion tour, which was, of course, postponed until next year. But then the band's drummer lead singer Phil Collins got a resurgence recently as a reaction to his best solo song, In the Air Tonight, went viral and caused that song to shoot up to the number 2 spot on the iTunes charts. This reaction came a mere 20 days after In the Air Tonight made my quarantine playlist. I'd like to think my shout out caused a domino-like effect that eventually led to it being in a reaction video. Mild self-delusions can be fun. So once again, I'm going to do something disconnected from the rest of my channel and talk about music, a topic that is totally over my head. Sometimes you just want to talk about your favorite band. I would be remiss if I did not mention Professor of Rock, whose video on his top 5 favorite Genesis songs of the 80s was the literal catalyst for this video. He comes at this band from a different perspective than myself, which is why I felt the need to make my own list. He clearly has a huge fondness for the more emotional Phil Collins inspired beats of Genesis. I appreciate those songs too, but I find when I'm looking for more emotional beats, frequently Phil's solo works fills that void better for me. Genesis is much more a rock band in my perspective, so my top 5 is going to be very different from his. So let's get this going.
Now, if you look around you, you may find some people out there without their hands in the air. Yes, and they're the people that are saying to themselves, hey, I'm too fucking cool for this, man. I'm too fucking cool, man.
The one song on this list that isn't a single at all or a staple of their live shows, but it doesn't matter. This is a great album track, a song of surreal imagery mixed with what sounds to be teenage lust. It in many ways feels like an updated version of Counting Out Time in terms of themes. A boy wants to get with a girl and the world seems to go insane with his thoughts. Literally, it seems like you're dealing with someone who is overthinking every step. Thematically, it's fun. Sonically, it's another classic by the band.
Side 1, as it were, the old side 1, it's kind of got the 3 best known songs on it. Mum Like That, Soul and Home by the Sea. On the second side, there's slightly more quirky songs on it. It's a slightly forgotten side, I think, in many ways, of Genesis. And I think it contains a couple of, of classic songs. One of them, Silver Rainbow, which I think is a real favourite of mine. It was a... Phil started playing this kind of sort of like Adam and the Ants kind of drum thing, with the Simmons just banging his way through it, and started playing this piano riff on top of it, and I just thought it was a really strong song, and I hoped it would go a little further than it did actually, but it wasn't sort of recognised.
Genesis isn't a band known for going political too often, and this song was hardly a bold political statement, but a very true one. The world is a mess, and we all have to work together to fix it. The video is much more bold with his politics and is a classic, showcasing a wide variety of puppets and starring a puppet of Ronald Reagan, stumbling through the problems without any real ideas on how to truly handle them.
I thought it's time, whatever age I was on, I can't remember, I thought it was time for a protest song. I thought the time was right, after all these years. But done in a fairly subtle way, This is the last lyric to be finished, I think. And I was behind schedule and late as usual, I think. He'd sung all the other songs actually, and I hadn't finished it. And I gave him the lyric, thinking I don't know if it's any good. I was a bit sort of a fever and a temperature, thinking I think it's all right, you know what I mean? It really kind of worked.
A song about a man obsessed with a prostitute named Mama, something Sigmund Freud would definitely have a lot to say about.
I'm Dr. Freud, but you may call me Siggy. You all seem to be suffering from a mild form of hysteria.
The whole song is just a dark and haunting atmospheric piece. It's all about tone and feeling and less about what the lyrics are literally saying. A fantastic example of a style over substance song and form. The song was based around a drum machine beat that Mike Rutherford put together. A work-in-progress version of the song exists and shows the band experimenting with noises and even with Phil frequently singing gibberish, and really just shows how the band would just jam in the studio and music gold would be produced as a result.
I suppose Mama is a song that most people, because it's drum machine based, everybody thinks it's my thing, but actually Mike was the one that came up with that early Lynn drum machine sound with the going through the gated reverb.
Put it into a boogie amplifier and turned it up incredibly loud, so it's distorted, and got this great sound, you know.
This portable amplifier was just jumping over the ground like this, but it produced this fantastic sound. It made the drum machine sound really, really good.
Literally, this is a simple song about a thief breaking into a house and being attacked by the ghost of that house. The song shows that even during their massively popular pop phase of the 80s, they were more than capable of pumping out a 10-minute plus progressive jam. The song really shines in its second half instrumental section, which kicks off with Colin's drums in a way very reminiscent of In the Air Tonight. Rutherford's guitar riff is simple, yet amazingly effective, and Banks' keyboards are the glue that holds the whole song together. All three shine during this section, showing how they were some of the best at their respective instruments alive. The best version of this song is from their Wembley Stadium performance back during the Invisible Touch tour. Definitely worth checking out.
When we were writing the song, Phil had this one phrase he kept singing, home by the sea, and I thought, well, I know I was writing the lyrics to this thing, I thought, well, home by the sea, what does that conjure up? I thought, well, let's have a spooky home by the sea, you know, and the idea of a burglar going in there and actually getting enveloped and suddenly being all these ghosts surrounding him, everything just quite appealed to me.
There's far too many classic songs that just didn't quite make this list, so let's give them a shout out right now.
You are feeling the fire. Oh, I wish you'd be roasted. You thought you'd rule the world forever. Long live the king, but don't spare our loser now. Then all she had to do was step into the light, and everyone would start to roar. Oh, there must be some misunderstanding. No one ever wanted to be closer. I'll still be here until it's over. You know I want to, but I'm in too deep.
In Too Deep is the most moving pop song of the 1980s, about monogamy and commitment. Christy, get down on your knees so Sabrina can see your asshole.
There is no question for me. This has to be the song by Genesis I've listened to the most, and not just because over 10 years ago I added a music video to the song.
Never did she such a terrible thing as you seen last night on the TV.
I cannot think of a song that better encapsulates Genesis. You want a longer, more progressive song with movement changes? You've got it. You prefer their lighter, more pop-oriented stuff? You have that too.
I reached across to touch her, but I know that she's not there.
This song is Genesis combining both their eras perfectly into one song. Apparently Genesis agrees with this assessment, as it is consistently one of their biggest songs on their tours, with Phil even having a warm-up discussion to set up the song for the crowd.
Now, I'm sure that a lot of you out there know exactly what the domino principle is. But for those of you that don't, I should elaborate.
Every live performance does something interesting with this song, and they are all worth checking out.
Flying on the windows, millions of ordinary people out there.
Well, to me it is a very important track, Domino. I mean, you know, it's people like that is, I think, in a way, but politicians don't sort of sometimes, I think through what it is they've started off. You know, all the unexpected consequences that occur when you start something off. You know.
Are you a Genesis fan? What are your favorite 80s songs of theirs? If this does well, should I do more videos like this? And who should I cover?
There's no other bands really that I've come across or, you know, heard about that do things, play, you know, write like that. You know, usually in a band there's one writer or a pair of writers, or there's two individual writers that submit material. But, you know, this is a lot like jazz. It's a lot like sitting down in a room with three guys and just playing, and eventually, you know, it starts to sound good. That's the magic of having a chemistry of people, and that's why, you know, I never take that kind of thing lightly. The fact is that with the three of us can do that, and not many people do that. And, you know, there may be bits that are slightly suspect, and there are bits that aren't as good as others, but there's some great stuff in there that came out of nowhere, and that's what's good about the band.
But I also think that Phil Collins works best within the confines of the group than as a solo artist. And I stress the word artist. Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
Trust me, no woman can truly love a man who listens to Phil Collins.